All right, George. So today I want to ask you a few questions about robbing.
Robbing is not a good thing, Dave.
It's not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
What is it?
So robbing is an event where bees from other locations target basically a honey source. It especially happens in the fall when it's dry or when the nectar flow is limiting down and bees are hungry and they find a source that they can get at. For example, during a hive inspection, you take your supers off and you leave your supers exposed without having them covered up. Well, that's free source of honey. Or you make a nuke and your nuke isn't very strong and you have an open entrance and there's honey in there. That's a free source of honey. Or you're doing fall feeding and you're basically pouring your feeders out in the middle of the day and you're spilling honey on the ground. That's a free source of honey. So when bees are always out there foraging, and when they sense there's a free source of honey, it attracts a lot of attention.
Why does it happen more in the fall?
I think it happens in the fall more because the nectar sources out there are really getting less, right? So it's getting later in the season. There's not as much flowers blooming. Hives are hungry. They may be some of the hives may not have enough food stores because the beekeepers harvested too much, and the bees are just hungry and they're just out there looking for whatever food source is available.
Got it.
Bees would prefer flowers or natural food sources, but when they don't exist, they'll definitely target whatever food source that you're leaving out there for them.
So how can you prevent robbing?
Well, there's a couple of ways to prevent robbing. One is to be aware that every situation can incite a robbing event. So just that awareness. Two, limit your hive inspections, time-wise. When you're doing a hive inspection, especially in the fall, try to not leave your boxes open for that long or exposed, and try to just do what's necessary in your hive inspection so your hive isn't apart for very long. And that's there's so many good things about the Keeper's Hive. I should know this, Steve. But one of the things about the Keeper's Hive is hive inspections is you're not removing all the boxes to do your hive inspection.
They're less likely to find the honey.
Less likely to find the honey, less likely to expose things. So that's important. Third thing that you can do to prevent robbing is to make your entrances on your hives really small. You can see on this hive, I have my standard Keeper's Hive entrance reducer, which is basically got 3/8 inch channels in there instead of having it wide open. And you also want to keep strong hives. Weak hives, small populations, and big boxes are also prone to robbing. You want to limit you want to do your inspections not in the middle of the day. You either want to do your inspections early in the day or later in the day, less likely to have robbing. So there's a lot of little important things that you can do to prevent robbing in general. Some people use robber screens. I personally have never used a robber screen on my hive, but some people put them on in the fall too. So one of the things that is like, how do you know your hive is being robbed?
I was just going to ask, is there a way you can tell, or is there anything you can do to intervene?
Yeah, so let's talk about how you know whether or not your hive's being robbed. And that's sometimes a tough thing, even for experienced beekeepers, to be able to tell that. One of the things is you want to look at the activity around the hive. You can see how this activity is relatively calm right now. There are a bunch of bees at the entrance, but they're calm. There's no bees that are trying to get into the hive up here or over here. Robbers are coming from another location, so they don't know where the entrance is. So they'll be landing on the hives in all different locations. So when you start to see bees coming in and landing up here or landing over here or landing on the back, they're more likely to be robbers. They tend to have a bit of a frenetic kind of activity going on. Oftentimes you'll see bees rolling or tussling on the bottom board. on the hive entrance. That's another sign. And you may see bees sort of dropping down, like right there. That was probably a robber right there. There's a bee that's sort of been dropped down, that's sort of being a little attacked. See that one right there, Dave? See that right there? That was probably a robber bee, right? So that bee is not welcome. They dragged it to the ground, and now they're killing it, unfortunately.
So a strong hive can defend itself a little bit.
To an extent. I think the robbing pressure can be very large, and if you really leave that hive open long enough and not be aware of it, even strong hives can be robbed out. Or it may not kill the hive, but it may take most of the resources to make it unlikely to survive the winter.
Right.
So what do you do, right? So if you haven't prevented robbing, and you're in a situation, luckily I don't have any hives right now that are being robbed out or in the act of being robbed. But what do you do if you see a hive that's being robbed? So the first thing you can do is you can get a sheet and basically throw the sheet over the hive.
Oh, interesting.
And therefore, the bees that are in the hive are safe in the hive, and the bees that are trying to rob the hive can't get in the hive. The other thing you can do is there's this spray that people use on fume boards. Fume boards are boards that are used to drive bees out of honey supers. I don't use fume boards, that's why we haven't seen them, Dave, but they exist, and there's spray that people put in fume boards. It's basically a spray that the bees don't like. So you could take your sheet and spray some of this fume board spray on the sheet to, again, sort of make the bees go away. Or you can smoke your sheet. But you want to sort of tell the robber bees that this isn't a good location anymore. It's noxious, there's smoke, there's fume board spray, there's a sheet over it. They got the wrong signal. Because what happens in robbing is a few bees find the source, they go back to their hive, tell 10 more bees, 2 minutes you got 20 bees, 4 minutes you have 100 bees. So you want those bees to go back to the hive and say, I know you told me to go to this location, but there's nothing there. And that's how you stop robbing. If it's really bad and the hive is small, what you could do is physically close up the hive and just take that hive to another location. So if you have another location, another apiary, just physically move the hive there, and that would stop it. But you really need to be very, very aware that any fall hive inspection can incite a robbing event. And if the robbing event happens, that hive can be taken out in as little as 30 minutes. Wow. So again, what we talked about earlier, prevention is the best thing to do to prevent robbing.
All right. Thank you, George.
So that's robbing. Hopefully you never see it. If you do see it, you'll learn for sure what to do and what not to do. And again, with the Keeper's Hive, I don't say the Keeper's Hive prevents robbing, but
it's less exposed.
It's less exposed, less exposure when you're doing your hive inspections, quicker inspections, so probably beneficial for robbing.
Cool.
That's all I got, Dave.